All right, Johnny, for the audience, would you mind giving a quick introduction for everyone?
Yes, my name is Johnny Broken, and I'm the owner of Metal Building Resources and a serial entrepreneur.
Awesome. And I guess how did you find me initially?
I've been searching for someone to help with our operations and just getting clarity on what our processes are. And through all the algorithms, your ads came up on Facebook, and so
Yeah.
scheduled an appointment.
Yeah, and your business was kind of unique, because construction businesses, their operations are all over the place. Yours was, it was semi there, but you initially came to me because you wanted some structures and systems, I believe it was.
Yes, over the last year, we have tried different, especially in technology, in business and construction. There's a ton of different systems and softwares, and we switched softwares a few different times. Had different people that we hired, and they didn't work out, so we had to let them go. So as we're building our systems and our staffing, just wanted outside eyes, someone who has that operations mindset to be able to kind of help us kind of fully reset because we as a team we've set our goal this year to be outstanding in everything that we do, and a lot of that just comes from systems operations, knowing who's doing what.
Yeah, and what was your business like, I guess, before we started working together, before we built that operational map for you? What was the ops? What was the business like in terms of managing it as a CEO?
Very reactive and exhausting. So I am not a detail oriented person, and so when I'm stuck in a lot of the detail oriented tasks, it just kills my ability to build relationships, to do more strategy, really play the CEO role that my company needs me to play. So playing a different role, and so it felt like running in mud or in sand. That the more that we tried, or maybe quicksand, the more that we tried, the worse it was for me personally because we didn't have the systems and operations. It wasn't clear who did what. So it was inefficient.
Yeah. And I know you've a pretty lofty, I guess, goal for this year in terms of scaling. So how did, I guess, what we did, because, for the audience that's kind of listening right now, what we did for Johnny was with a process map where we clearly laid out, what his business is doing, who's doing what, who's responsible for what are the KPIs. And I guess as we're diagramming out, could you tell the audience a little bit more about how that helped you visualize the business?
Yeah, because as a visionary and wanted to stay at 30,000 feet, it's easy to kind of think through what things should be, but then getting into detail, but also having my staff on the call, I think was really big, just getting their outside eyes on it, but having their buy-in as well. Uh, but having action steps and the time you're bringing on an integrator or like a director of operations to where if having the process map is a great thing, and I've done process maps for the last 20 years of being an entrepreneur. The hardest part is implementation of it. So having their buy-in, but having outside eyes where we can dig into step by step what each process is, or I guess what happens after each piece, and so that everyone on the team knows what that is, so that I don't have to micromanage it because no one likes being micromanaged, and that's more detail. That's pulling me out of where I should be.
Yeah.
So having digging in that deep and having this big process from start to finish really brought everyone together, got everyone's thoughts and buy-in into it, which that is a massive foundation to have, especially launching into our goals this year.
hmm And like another thing, what you said earlier with your story of, I guess, not so much being in the weeds and like, kind of trying to figure everything out while trying to be a visionary and trying to focus on sales and marketing. It's the most common story I hear on the calls. I say that because I think I realized, towards the end, we also realized that your construction manager also was starting to get a lot of workload, right? And you decided you want to hire a new person, I believe it was, something along those lines to kind of take
Yeah, so our project manager, so she's
project
been with
manager.
us for over a year, and we just our speed of execution, which I've been taught in business, is massive. It's everything. So that's where we have not been as profitable as what we should have been. And that's a big piece of getting these systems and process in place and schedules and automation, things like that. So yeah, going through the whole process, realizing how much is on her plate.
Yeah.
And so me being a bottleneck in the business, like I typically am because I get pulled into operations and it's not my strong suit, but then seeing how much is on her plate, and seeing that she is a bottleneck as well, not necessarily because she's not good at her job. It's just there's a ton on her plate. So had this huge aha that we needed someone else to help her with her role.
hmm And now do you feel like, now that we're kind of done with this process, you have a map. I know implementation's up next, with your director of ops and so on. Do you think
Mhm.
you have everything it takes, be the CEO and not be as much nitty-gritty into the operations as you continue to scale?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the whole team is much more clear on how our process works, kind of what our widget is supposed to be and how long it's supposed to take, and speeding all of that up. So yeah, definitely implementation is key. And I know that there's gonna be little things that come up here or there, but we have a foundation that we can launch from.
How much time were you spending just on the ops before, let's say last year, on not necessarily like higher level stuff, more like fighting fires, making sure things are done properly. Oh, she forgot something, he forgot something. Now I gotta like track all like weekly. How much time was that roughly?
A ton. And I guess part of it, when I wasn't putting as much time into it, it was not a good thing because we hired one person that had been a general contractor for 15 years, was sick of carrying his tools and doing all that stuff. So he just wanted to be a superintendent. So I just assumed that he knew what he was doing. We didn't necessarily have a foundation for him to step into. And so, yeah, 4 months of not really watching over him, not having those processes, and not necessarily having a dashboard to where we could keep track of, and knowing what success looked like. And that made a mess out of probably 10 different projects. So even though I wasn't necessarily putting time into that and I was able to build the business a little bit, things were
Yeah,
getting messed up on the operation side. So that's one piece of it. So I look at it as not necessarily time in operations or not, but time in, I want time out of operations, but also with that confidence, knowing that operations is moving because it's
yeah,
super easy. And I've done it way too many times as a visionary to just kind of let go of the reins on the operations that don't like doing it. And I have people in there that I think know what they're doing, but without operations, without a scoreboard, in KPIs, it's kind of just kind of hope and pray that they're doing it. Whereas having a process that we've all committed to, having systems around that, it gives me confidence to go do what I should be doing and knowing that there is accountability and a process for operations to follow.
gotcha. Awesome. That's exactly what we set out to accomplish. So I'm glad you feel confident in that. I guess just for the audience, I know it's like the new year now. What's up next for you this upcoming year? What are high level goals? You don't have to go into the details if you don't want to, but where's Johnny going to be
Yeah.
end of 2025?
Yeah. So there's some massive things coming this year, and going through this process gives me a lot more confidence and excitement to get back in play. I guess excitement back for my business that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that I don't have to be stuck in operations. So as I get out of operations, so our goal is to double revenue for this year, um, which I think we definitely can. And I think next year we'll potentially triple as we have momentum and just the construction, the sales cycle. But also, there's a, a product side of the business that
Okay.
I think is a massive opportunity, way bigger than the service side. But just freeing up my time to be able to tackle that and lean into that is massive. So that's, I think, going to be bigger than the construction side. So yeah, hopefully the goal is to be seven figures by 2027.
Awesome. And I guess final question for you. What would you say to someone who's, considering working with me, but is on the line and is unsure?
Um, if you're a visionary, whether you have systems kind of in place or not, pull the trigger. I mean, the value is there. Because even, I can build systems. I hate doing it. It like steals all my energy. But having those outside eyes and someone who has worked with so many different companies, um, and I think that's a part of it. If I just talk to construction companies, then I would do kind of what other construction companies do. But the power of working with someone who has this well versed on all sorts of different businesses and widgets, getting outside eyes on what you could do or what different ways to do it. Those outside eyes are massive, but also there's always room for improvement on processes. So I wouldn't doubt if we hire you again at the beginning of next year. And just like this is the last year, but I'm a huge proponent of coaching and outside eyes and consultants. And just again, goes back to speed of execution. So my team and I probably could have gotten through this over the next 6 months, and it would be painful. But the amount of revenue that we would have lost because people are in the wrong seats is massive. So yeah, I can't. could not be a bigger proponent of your services and what you've helped us with.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for the kind words.
Yeah.
I guess before we end this, if somebody wants to build a house with you, want to work with you, do you want to plug your website, socials, whatever that is?
Sure. So we specifically are leaning into the barn-dominium market, which is a super hot market. Essentially, it's a steel-built home. So with the fires across the country, um, hurricanes, these are stronger. There's not mold. There's not termites like in the southeast. They're non-combustible because everything is made out of steel. So the term barndominium, that's what that is related to. But our website is barndominiumdesignpros.com. And the construction side where we build them is metalbuildingresources.com. So thanks for that opportunity.
Perfect. All right, guys, reach out to Johnny if you guys need a house or a condominium. And Johnny, thank you so much for hopping on this
Yep.
call.
Thanks, you. Appreciate it.